What is up? What is up, DTube and the Steam blockchain? Today I want to talk a little bit about the speed up of time. Oh yeah, that's an interesting topic. Speed up of time. We are speeding up. We're speeding up, okay? That's at least my view on it, my topic on it, and based on experts that I heard been talking about this. So first of all, there are some great videos about time that a person should watch before, maybe, so they sort of understand a little bit deeper about what time is. But keep it a little bit short, so you sort of get a good introduction and sort of understanding to this video. Okay, so speed up of time. First of all, what is keeping time here? What is keeping time? Why do we sort of feel that time is moving? It's because we have a physical body. Okay, our body is sort of keeping time. If we didn't have it, it would sort of be eternity. Okay, because why would it matter how long time something would take if we didn't feel time? Okay, so that might sound a little bit weird. So why are we speeding up time? Why are we speeding up time? Why are we speeding up time? Good question. Well, it mainly happens because we can get what we desire much faster. It's almost like the existence is turning into a real-time desire system where you have a desire and it can kind of get fulfilled super fast. I think there's a lot of stories about that, the concept of someone. There are people saying stuff like, be careful what you wish for, you may end up get it. And you have stories about people that wish everything they touched turned to gold, and then even they try to drink water but it's gold. And there's a lot of stories that has been passed on about sort of almost this concept of a speed up of time, speed up of getting desires fulfilled much faster. Obviously there's no guarantee that we're always going to have desires that are unfulfilled, and then we're going to have desires that gets fulfilled. But a good example, for example, is value systems. How, for example, access. Take the concept of access, that you get some value on the internet, some digital tokens, and you have access to a lot of things. You have access to a lot of utility service, you have access to transportation, you have access to food, you have access to shelter, or you have the potential of access to that if you get those tokens. So when tokens speed up, when it happens faster, when it's easier to get tokens, when you basically get access to the whole world much quicker. So this is like a speed up of time, because what took people decades, what took people many years to achieve, go to school for 10 years, study something for 15 years, work at a job for 40 years. Why are people working mainly? They're working mainly, I mean, you could say that people are doing it for the process, but for most people, they're working, they want to get to a state. Why are they getting money? Well, they want to get to a state where they have all the things they need and they don't have to go to work, and they can basically be on holiday for the rest of their life, and they don't have to do something daily, and maybe so they can focus on their passions and do whatever they want. So a speed up of time happens especially in the digital age, where everything is just like information, access to tokens, access to whatever. The whole internet works around the idea of how can we get something to a person much faster? How can we speed up the internet connection? How can we speed up the processor? how can we speed up, how can we enhance the experience, how can we make software better, how can we make hardware cheaper, how can we make people get access easier to whatever it is they desire. So we're creating tools to fulfill desires super fast. And what happens is, when people are really plugged into these new systems, eventually what happens is they're gonna see a lot of stuff in the 3D physical world, and you can see how they sort of move slower compared to the virtual world, for example. So then what happens is you see the 3D physical world, you see that they're doing basically the same thing. Like, you see that humans walk around in the 3D physical world, they meet people, they go to conferences, they do many of the things that people are doing in the virtual world. They're just doing it slower. It's almost like a slower time system. I'm not sure what you can call it, but obviously there's many great interesting videos about time, and that the time basically is an illusion in many aspects, and that how the universe is sort of structured is that when you have a physical dimension and space, time and space, you sort of need some form of gravity, and time keeps it together or whatever. But there's many great videos you should watch about time, because it's a fascinating topic, because humans can basically, in some aspects, even though it might sound a bit weird, they can sort of transcend time. So what feels like a moment can be 10 hours. And there's a lot of deep aspects to that a human can explore, which is kind of cool. But the basics of it is, it really gets interesting when the survival needs are being taken care of, because that's mainly what Access right now is about, like tokens or finance or whatever. It's a lot about still humans focusing on the survival aspects of they need to, at the moment, as where society is, they need to sort of get value daily or something, and they need to sort of think a lot about this, and hopefully in the very near future an AI is really gonna take care of all of the survival needs. Even though it sounds super utopian, it sounds impossible that a machine can take care of everyone, or at least, and now I just mainly talk about the survival aspect. I'm not talking about the luxury living, but the basic needs. Basically, a machine can probably do that for everyone. So that means that when humans are not 99% of their time focusing on survival, it means time is probably going to speed up even more, because humans are going to have more time to do other tasks. They're going to have more time for discovery, for really diving deep into niche stuff, niche subjects, niche topics, something that they didn't have any time for in the past. Okay, and I mean, we already see this right now on the internet with all these kinds of niches that people dive deep into to explore much more in depth, when people are just focusing on enhance their human genius. Okay, so that's quite cool. A very cool aspect of all of this is really the thing that I said, that it's kind of strange. You see humans on TV, and a big aspect that you're seeing is the limited mind patterns that humans are in. You can sort of see that on a day-to-day basis. There's not really any new going on for that many. The reason is because their senses hasn't perceived anything new. The mind, how it works, it can only rehash stuff that it has seen via the sense perception, the 5 senses. And so if they don't get another experience of something, they're not gonna know anything new. Okay, and that's what we are seeing a lot, that we're seeing that people that move beyond, that basically can perceive something beyond their 5 senses, even though that sounds super magical, but you can. It's called meditation. And it basically is going to be an aspect that more humans probably should get into eventually, mainly because to learn to not identify as much with their physical body, basically, or their mind, which is also a physical aspect, because the physical body, what is basically making a lot of stuff a human is doing very cyclical and sort of stuck in a time loop. And it also slows down time, because if a person becomes very attached to their physical structure, it's only going to be very cyclical, and it's only going to do very basic survival stuff. Okay, so human genius is basically going to unfold after survival is being taken care of. So we haven't even seen human genius start. We're seeing it a little bit here and there, but we haven't really seen it unfold. We haven't really seen humans unleash their human genius potential in a massive way. Only a few people that are sort of doing it. But as time speeds up, thanks towards the people just gonna have their survival needs already taken care of, it means they can really dive into unexplored territory. So they can, for example, focus on, maybe I should have a vision for my life, or maybe I should fix something in the world that hasn't been fixed. Like, they're huge right now, for example. They're huge global problems. There is a lot of stuff going on in the world, and the experience, of course, in our life is sort of everything. Awareness is aliveness, basically. So it's only to that extent that a human is aware that we sort of feel alive, right? Which is also pretty interesting. So what eventually is going to happen is, almost everyone probably eventually is going to be at that state where all survival needs taken care of, and then a lot of structures that we have in place right now, a lot of mind structures, a lot of ideas, a lot of man-made structures are sort of going to collapse, because in a time speed up, it means that we're going to see all of these structures that is not needed anymore. For example, we see a person repeat something, and we can see, wait a sec, you don't have to focus on this. We've already taken care of this, right? So a lot of what we see in the world, a lot of structures are going to collapse, and people are just going to do something else. Just as we've seen in history, people moved from horse to cars. Okay, It was a time speed up. And it's almost like we need a combination, though, in the physical world, or for people as well, that in some aspect you need a slow side, because nature in many aspects is slow. It takes a long time to grow a tree. But in other aspects, it's almost as humans should speed up. The reason why is because I mean, we have a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and some stuff needs to be fixed faster. For people to adapt, it's going to take a long time. But for issues, some issues are more urgent than others, right? So the reason why we're seeing all this, save time and energy. That's what humans desires a lot. How can we save more time and energy? How can we get to more exciting results faster? Our survival depends basically on being fast, being quick, right? So we can do more cool stuff. So we see it also, for example, with the blockchain space. People are always talking about TPS, transactions per second. They don't talk about transactions per day, per week, per month. They talk about per second. And maybe one day we talk about milliseconds. Who knows? So I love this topic. I love the topic of time speed up, because there's so much menial tasks humans are doing that it's not really needed. For example, I can take a good example. My YouTube work, I used to work it took a couple of hours per day. Now maybe in a day I can do a month's of work. Okay, so that's also interesting in the aspect of our view of work and time. That we had this idea that a person is working an hour and they get $15. Okay, but now with a time speed up, it's eventually going to come to that point where a person is working a second and they get $15, because it's just math. If stuff is being speeded up, it's eventually going to come to that point. Same as we're seeing back in the days, $100,000 or $1 million was maybe something that people talked about. Now they talk about $1 billion, $1 trillion, and I even seen quadrillion dollars. And now you're even starting to see games that sort of pushing the narrative to even higher numbers than that. You also see it with time. Also, it seems to be extending in some aspects, because we see how videos are getting longer. We see podcasts that are 4 hours long, and that is also always expanding. Okay, so maybe time is being speeded up in some aspects, because nature sort of wants us to evolve. And I had this sort of experience when I was perceiving, and this was just with my 5 senses. There are other aspects of perceiving stuff without your 5 senses, just having closed eyes. But I had this very interesting experience with my 5 senses when I just perceived things without labeling anything and everything sort of talked to me. It was like, and it's sort of what I saw was, I saw that what I saw, for example, was that if it did feel like we're moving towards a time where our intelligence will a millionfold. And that was interesting. That was interesting. And it wasn't by putting in tech in our bodies, it wasn't anything about that. It was just about using what we already had to evolve consciously, to evolve faster. But not about putting tech in the body, not about tweaking the system, but just using the system and just be more conscious, right? And that's a word that probably is kind of corrupted these days, but I think a lot of people are noticing the time speed up, which is of course very exciting, because a day is going to be even more of an adventure, because we don't know what people are going to do on a day-to-day basis. Back in the day when time was slower, you could predict easier what people were going to do the next day. Now you don't know if a person is going to start a hardware company, a software company, if they're going to start some virtual world or build something, build a new universe, build a new token blockchain. Who knows? Who knows? Nobody knows. Okay, so I enjoy the time speed up, and I mainly enjoy it because it creates more novelty. We need more novelty. We need more novelty in this place. So yeah, have a great day, DTube. Have an awesome day. Steam blockchain. Bye bye.